If you don't like me, you're doing me a favor by not talking to me. If you hate me, you don't have to borrow nothing from me. We all know a lot of people talk when the person is dead or locked up. Because I didn't hear none of these conversations when I was on the street.
Suge Knight goes off on the latest episode of his Collect Calls podcast. This is Fresh Hip Hop Opinion with your guy Oleezeh. Don't forget to subscribe. So people, episode 15 of the Collect Call podcast with Dave Mays and Suge Knight. I think this is the best one so far. He went in on a lot of people. No, Diddy. But speaking of Diddy, he spoke about Diddy again. He spoke about Warren G, Dr. Dre, Snoop, a whole bunch of people. But it was actually the ending that was the biggest highlight for me of the episode. I got the audio right here, people. Check it out.
One last thing. Now, James, I feel bad for you because they said recently he took up for Puffy. Said, oh, he was having sex with these dudes, but they ain't bad. Like Bill Cosby, nothing wrong with that. I understand what you went through when you was younger. It's never too late for therapy. But some victims, people who have been molested, sometimes they start thinking it was their fault, not the person who was doing the raping or doing the molesting. It's not that. It's their fault, not yours. It's not the woman's fault. So you don't want to take up for Puffy. Puffy's the guy you was talking to, Southside neighborhood, that you tell it. You say he was on this street, and he was on that street, and you live right in that neighborhood. I get it. The saddest thing about all this, nobody had to die. Even more sad than all this, people can say, oh, you've worth $500 million. By that, it'd probably been $20 billion. I'm quite sure it would have, and I'm quite sure they all knew that. That's why they use you stupid ass to lie on me, to commit fraud against me, to work for the government, and to steal my shit. When you found out that I was wrong to fight it, you paid people to kill me. When you paid these individuals to kill me, I survived it. Now, I'm doing my time. But the reality of it, if the checks and the guns and the motive is there, Mr. Knight was owed almost $700 million out that Apple deal with the headphones and says it in black and white. That's the motive. But when God give you something, man can't take it away. They can borrow it, but you get it back and more. Never stop believing in God. Never stop believing in yourself. And I bring so much good and good energy to the table. If you don't like me, you're doing me a favor by not talking to me. If you hate me, you don't have to borrow nothing from me. We all know a lot of people talk when the person is dead or locked up. Because I didn't hear none of these conversations when I was on the street. And Pop didn't hear none of these conversations when he was alive. One thing for sure, one thing for certain, I'll be back. Separate mine from yours. I'm out.
Yeah, fam. He went in on James. Mob James. If you don't know who Mob James is, Mob James was one of Suge's goons back in the day. Pretty much the guy that would put hands on people, a shooter, blah, blah, blah. He's not fond of Suge right now because he kind of blames Suge for his brother's death and not supporting the homies back in the day when Death Row went downhill. I mean, the audio wasn't clear, but I'm pretty sure he was saying that Mob James was molested as a youngster, and that's why he's supporting Diddy, which is wild. I've not heard Mob James support Diddy, but Suge, to put that on him, that's a bit harsh. Suge always talks about how he doesn't want to have negativity, but then he'll sprinkle a whole lot of negativity. Like in previous episodes, he spoke about Snoop being the shooter in that murder situation he had in the early 90s. He was even in this episode, he was talking about Warren G getting beat up. But you could definitely hear the pain in Suge's voice when he's talking about how his company would have been worth $20 billion now. Like Death Row would have been worth that. But I think he's only got himself to blame. He's saying everybody else conspired against him to make him lose his business, and then they tried to kill him. But it's mad to think that Suge was worth $500 million back in the 90s. And it was all independent, that's wild, man. And now he's sitting in a cell for the next 10 years. Actually, no, he's just done 10 years. I think he's got another 15 years in jail. Crazy. He still won't let go of the Dr. Dre thing. Now, he's saying he still owed money for Dr. Dre's headphones. I believe it's because he's meant to get a piece of any business deal Dre did. I don't know what kind of contract that would have been. He meant to get a percentage. So he's saying he's due over $100 million from that Beats by Dre deal. But if that was true, he could easily get a lawyer and sort that out. But I don't think that's real. But for me, the climax of his speech at the end was when he was talking about how none of these guys was speaking about Suge when he was out on the street. And it's true. Like, look at all these podcasts, Warren G, Snoop. Everybody's talking about Suge a lot in the last 8 to 10 years now. He's been locked up. When he was out, it was crickets. Ain't nobody talking about Suge back then. Obviously, they're more comfortable because he's behind the walls. But just imagine he gets out in the next couple of years. I reckon all that talking will stop. But saying that, I think the talking's going to stop soon anyway. How much can you really talk about death row, which hasn't already been said? But overall, I'm really feeling the podcast. Some people say when he gets all deep, it's not really entertaining, but I still find those episodes quite entertaining anyway. But this episode, I recommend everyone to go check it out. It was very entertaining. Anyway, people, I want to know what you lot think. What did you think about what Suge had to say in the snippet I played for you? And if you watched the whole episode, let me know if you were feeling it and think it's the best one so far. Leave a comment below, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. It's Fresh Hip Hop Opinion. Peace and love.